Tonight on Channel 6 News Weekend Edition, the fight is on to keep a Confederate statue in the area. Plus, protests erupt in St. Louis after an officer is acquitted on murder charges. And hundreds of Central Texans turn out to walk and find a cure for MS. Channel 6 News Weekend Edition starts right now.
Expect more. This is Channel 6 News Weekend.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Imani Payne. Chris Rogers has the night off. Protesters stormed the Bell County Courthouse today demanding a Confederate statue stay put after a local NAACP chapter called for its removal earlier this week. Channel 6 News reporter Andrew Moore spoke to people at the rally and has this report.
It's part of the United States history altogether.
A messed up part of our history, but it's still our history.
Around a dozen people met at the Bell County Courthouse Saturday, calling for the monument of a Confederate soldier to stay after some Bell County residents called for its removal earlier this week. Protesters say the statue's purpose is honoring soldiers.
It's not just one Confederate soldier, it's every Confederate soldier that fought and died for what their cause was at that time.
But critics say that cause is the problem. Rooker Preston, who met with local Judge John Burroughs about the statue this week, says it needs to be relocated.
They were fighting for a side that was fighting for slavery. It's the ideals for which that side was fighting for.
The protesters don't see it that way.
They didn't fight for slavery. That's crap. I gotta hit him, Bob. Read your history.
But while slavery wasn't the only factor leading to the Civil War, it was a factor. And while some say Confederate monuments teach that history,
keep the statues in place to teach our next generation of children that these statues, this was part of our history.
Other parents want that lesson taught differently.
I feel like there are better things to memorialize people in Bell County by it than those issues for which the war was fought.
In Belton, Andrew Moore, Channel 6 News.
Bell County has agreed to a follow-up meeting with locals regarding the statue, but has not yet set a date. Well, it's time now for a first check of the weather. Meteorologist Bill Hecky is standing by with a look at our forecast. Hey, Bill.
Hello, Imani. We've got a nice night going for us out there. Waco's down to 83. Most numbers are dropping down those low 80s. Winds are still southerly. They're not very strong. And tomorrow morning, we'll start off with a little stratus coming at us, 73 down, and we'll warm to the low 90s once again. More coming your way in just a short while. Imani.
Thanks, Bill. Now to Lampasas, where no criminal charges will be filed against a sheriff's deputy who punched a man multiple times during a traffic stop. Now here's a look at the video of that altercation that took place back in May. According to an arrest affidavit, Deputy Logan Jones responded to a call of a reckless driver. He pulled over this car carrying 3 young teens. Things escalated when Jones tried to arrest the driver. The officer was placed on administrative leave while the Texas Rangers investigated. No word on if the Lampasas Sheriff's Office will review their use of force policy. And a man is on the run tonight after robbing a Waco convenience store. It happened at the 7-Eleven on University Parks Drive around 2 this morning. Police say a black man wearing a blue ski mask entered the store and demanded money and a pack of cigarettes from the clerk. He also motioned like he had a gun in his pants but never showed it. Once he got the items, officers say the suspect ran away. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. People displaced by Hurricane Harvey in Port Arthur are being moved into tents. Emergency officials have put up around 250 tents in a parking lot. Each one can hold up to 14 people. Officials say men and women are being put in different tents while families are rooming together. The mayor says he expects more evacuees in the coming days.
Finally finding a balance after a couple of weeks, and we're happy that people are being safe and feel comfortable here.
He goes on to say the tents are temporary shelters where people can stay for about 30 days, but he says that could be extended. A solar energy company from here in Central Texas held a customer appreciation party today in their showroom. But this year it wasn't just celebrating and thanking people for business. As Curtis Quillen explained, celebrating just didn't seem right to the business owner.
It started out as any ordinary Saturday. Burgers on the grill, buns on the table, and people coming together.
Every year we have an event here that people come in, and last year we had several hundred people here.
At Solar Syntex in Harker Heights, owner Scott Airy threw an annual Customer Appreciation Day. There was just one change for 2017.
We really didn't feel like having a party to celebrate some of our successes over the past year was appropriate.
This was not an ordinary customer appreciation party. By coming in after buying solar and saving money, customers who told the company what they saved were able to help the victims of Hurricane Harvey, because as they wrote the amount they saved on a board in the front of the office, Solar Syntex matched it.
We saw all the folks who had lost so much down in Houston and along the Texas coast.
The effort excited Aries customers.
That means a lot. I mean, they help you look for ways to help people, and that's just one of those ways. It's an unexpected way.
All in all, Solar Syntex raised $5,000 to donate to J.J. Watt's Foundation for Harvey relief along the Texas Gulf Coast. That includes a check from an unlikely source.
And I even had one solar installer from Ohio that follows our work on Facebook. He thought it was so nice he actually sent a check in from Ohio to help contribute to the operation.
If Saturday proves anything, it shows Texans are continuing to help those going through a dark time, even if it means creating their own light. Curtis Quillen, Channel 6 News, Harker Heights.
If you'd like to give help to those affected by the storms, visit our website. That's kcentv.com. Hundreds of bikers rallied in Killeen today for the 7th annual Ride for Wreaths. The Wreaths for Vets organization places a wreath on every grave at the Central Texas State Veterans Cemetery each year. And as more soldiers are buried, more wreaths are needed. Organizers say they need to buy 1,500 more this holiday season. Today they raised that money through sign-up fees and donations. After arriving at the cemetery, the riders held a short service in honor of our fallen soldiers. Actor Gary Sinise came out to thank the riders for their efforts.
I think the least we can do as Americans is to stand behind them and support them with everything we have.
It's also for the community and the nation to say thank you and honor, and always remember that we have this wonderful life in America because of these soldiers.
The Wreaths for Vets organization will plan to lay close to 9,000 wreaths at the cemetery this November. In cities across the country, Americans are taking to the streets in protest. In St. Louis, it's to protest the acquittal of a white police officer in the shooting death of a black man. In Richmond, Virginia, a Robert E. Lee statue. And in Washington, support for the president and a famous rap duo. NBC's Chris Pallone explains.
In St. Louis, protesters took to the streets for a second straight day, outraged over a judge's ruling finding a white former police officer not guilty of killing a black man, Anthony Lamar Smith, in 2011. Friday night, things turned violent with 11 police officers hurt, several buildings vandalized, and 32 people arrested. Missouri's governor is calling for calm.
You assault a law enforcement officer, we're going to arrest you. Violence and vandalism is not protest, it is a crime.
In Richmond, Virginia, things remained peaceful as a group calling itself the New Confederate States of America marched in support of the city's Robert E. Lee statue. Counter-protesters far outnumbered the statue's supporters, but instead of heated clashes, people on both sides engaged in mostly calm conversations about their differences.
I've never met this man before.
We'd have to go all the way out.
We just had, a 10-minute conversation, so I could understand where he was coming from, and he could understand where I was coming from. And that's really the solution.
In Washington, competing rallies on the National Mall. Supporters of President Trump held what they called the mother of all rallies. Organizers banned any ties to white supremacy or the alt-right, including Confederate flags. Speakers offered support for the president and his agenda as anti-Trump protesters looked on.
This is a different president. This is a different time. You know, the entire 8 years of Obama, he didn't negotiate with everybody. If he didn't get his way, he just wrote executive orders. You know, President Trump is trying to make things work for everybody. You know?
Just a few yards away, fans of the hip-hop duo Insane Clown Posse, who call themselves Juggalos, protested the Justice Department, labeling them a loosely organized hybrid gang. A day of protest, the new normal in the Trump era. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Because of security fears, rock group U2 has canceled tonight's concert in St. Louis, and the St. Louis Symphony has canceled its performance tonight, too. Well, actor Gary Sinise, best known for his role as Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump, performed at the Fort Hood Salute celebration tonight. He says he's walking away with a greater appreciation for those who serve.
Tonight, we visited with Gary Sinise and asked him, why did you start the band?
And I started the band not because I wanted to, I'm a songwriter or I make any money at it. Through the generosity of the American people and people who support the Gary Sinise Foundation, I'm able to provide concerts like this.
After over 375 concerts, why do you keep coming back?
It's because I care about our military. It's a dangerous world. They've been stressed quite a bit. How many deployments can one family take? I don't pick up my bass in between concerts for the Lieutenant Dan Band. When I play my bass, it's for the soldiers, and it's for the sailors and the families and the Marines and all the service members.
And what's the importance of today's military?
Let's say the United States did not exist. There wasn't a United States. Who would be the dominant power in the world? Would they be a power fighting for liberty and freedom? Or would they be an oppressive power? There's one power that's in the equation right now that stands for liberty, and that's the United States of America, and we can't do it without a strong military defense. And the people that choose this as their life's work, that we should honor and be grateful for, because it's a dangerous world out there, and we need these families to be strong.
Overall, he says he's walking away with a greater appreciation for those who serve. The event was free and open to the public and coincides with the upcoming 75th anniversary of the formation of Fort Hood. Well, still ahead on Channel 6 News Weekend Edition, hundreds of people turned out to the Bell County Expo Center today for a pet adoption extravaganza.
And your forecast up after the break.
Welcome back. Hundreds of people turned out to the Bell County Expo Center today for a pet adoption extravaganza. Rescue Magazine coordinated the event in its second year. All kinds of animals, dogs, cats, horses, snakes, and birds were up for adoption. The hope from today was to adopt as many animals as possible.
We bring all the shelters together, so a lot of families, they'll go out and they're looking for that one dog, and they may go out, they may only have an hour or two to go out, so they'll go out and look at one shelter, maybe two.
Next year's event is already being planned. A link to Rescue Magazine can be found on our website, that's kcentv.com. And hundreds of Central Texans gathered this morning to walk for a cure for MS. The walk took place at Carl Levens Park in Harker Heights around 9 a.m. People young and old gathered for the event. They enjoyed food, music, stories of survival, and took a moment to remember those lost. Deanna Stansbury with the National MS Society says raising awareness is key.
And one of the things that's so important is a lot of people think when they get diagnosed with this disease that they're all alone, and there's nobody like them. Nobody has this disease. So having events like this, people can come together, they can talk to others.
For ways to get involved, visit our website, that's kcentv.com. And sports is next. Stick with us.